Hello everyone. This video we are going to be discussing and checking the answers for chapter 2 lesson 5, that's about solving inequalities with variables on both sides. So this again is going to be an explanation of the lesson as well as solving the workbook answer, the practice book answers. So which means we can do two in one. We can understand the lesson as well as you could check the answers for the homework too. Now if you have not done the homework, please do the homework and then check the answer, because math is not a subject where you could just learn something by watching, rather only if you practice. As I always said, the more you practice, the more you will get used to solving the questions, right? So let's get started. This question, which is about solving each inequality and graphing the solutions. So we are going to solve the inequality and we're going to graph the solution. Now already you know solving inequality is the same rule as solving an equation. We need to solve the number variables together and the numbers together. So which means it's going to be, we are going to rearrange these. So the first thing is going to be 30. Okay, that's a bit too thicker, right? So the first thing, I'm going to move the 2x to the other side. So this is going to be 30 is greater than or equal to 7x minus 2x, because 2x is positive on this side, on the left hand side. When it moves to the other side, it becomes the inverse. So 30 is less than, greater than or equal to 5x, which means 30 is going to be divided by 5 is greater or lesser equal to x, which means finally we have the answer as 6 is greater or equal to x, but it's always better to keep it on the x on the other side so that it becomes easy for us to graph. Now the answer is x is lesser than or equal to x, which means we are going to graph that here. Now the number line, the numbers are not given, but you need to know that you need to show all the numbers which are less than or equal to 6. So let me start my number line with 7. Okay, so I go on like 6, then 5, then 4, then 3. So you can write like every number here, but it's okay to alternate them too. So 1, and then we have 0 here, -1, -3, and -5. So you could complete this, like you can write here 6, you can write here 4. It's totally like, it's not necessary, because once you leave the space, you know that these numbers are in between. Now let's go to graphing this. So you're going to graph x is less than or equal to 6. So first let's draw a circle on 6. It needs to be shaded because it says it's equal to. Now we are going to draw the arrow. Now when you're drawing the arrow, you need to be careful because your arrow needs to show lesser sign, lesser numbers. So which means if you go to the left only, you could show all the numbers which are lesser. Now you keep drawing. My mouse doesn't allow me to draw further. So your answer is going to be like that. X is less than or equal to 6, which means x could be 5, x could be 3.5, x could be -1, or x could even be a 0. So this is the answer for question number 1. Right, let's move to question number 2. Okay, so question number 2, 2k plus 6 is less than 5k minus 3. So the first thing first, let's arrange the terms. So the like terms, that's 2k minus 5k. Why did the 5 become minus? You already know it, right? It's going to be -3 minus 6, which means 2 minus 5 is going to give you a -3k is less than a -9, because -3, -6 is going to give you a -9. Now we need to separate -3 from k, which means k is going to be greater, because I'm going to flip the sign as I'm going to divide this with a -3. And you know, if you're dividing or multiplying with a negative number, that means you have to flip the sign. So k is going to be greater than 3, because -9 divided by -3 will give you a +3. So we are going to graph this. So to graph, we have to show all the numbers which are greater than 3. So let me start this number line with a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. You could just go go on with the numbers. So now I'm going to graph k is greater than 3, which means I have to start by drawing a circle on 3. Now am I going to shade it? I will not be shading it because it shows only greater. So then the arrow goes to the right because it needs to show all the numbers which are greater than 3. So this is means the sorry, it's not, it's k. So k could be 5, k could be 9, k could be 11, any number, but it needs to be greater than 3. Right, let's move on to the next question. Now these are quite easy questions. The more you practice, the more you will get the flow of doing these questions, right? So, okay, again, the same thing here. You need to rearrange the terms, keep all the terms on one side of the inequality and all the numbers on the other side. So which means that leaves us with 3b minus 2b is lesser than or equal to 1 plus 2. Why plus 2? Because minus 2, when it moves to the other side of the inequality, it becomes a positive 2. So 3b minus 2b will give you 1b, but we do not write the 1b, so it's a b less than or equal to 3. So again, you need to start graphing this. So you have to show all the numbers which are less than 3 or equal to 3, which means your number line, let's say it starts with a 4. Then 3, then 2, 1, 0, -1, -2, -3, and so on. So totally up to you how you want to choose the number line, but make sure that your number line shows the numbers less than 3. Okay, so for graphing now, we have to graph it at 3. So I draw a circle at 3 and shade it because it needs to show the numbers less than 3 or and 3. So it goes like that, and then it goes to the left. Okay, so it needs to show all the numbers which are less than 3. So which means the value of b could be 3 because it says equal to 3, or it could be a -9, it could be a -5, it could be a 0, any number but less than 3. Right, so moving on to the next question, we have a different question here. We have the term inside the parenthesis and then a number to be multiplied. So either you get rid of the 2, but it's always better multiply the terms inside the parenthesis first. So that gives us a 6, 9 plus 14 is going to be greater than 5, 9, which means move the variable to the other side. Now, why am I moving the variable to the other side? So that it won't affect the sign. Now, what will happen if I would move the 5 here and 14 to the other side? Both of them will become negatives, as well as they will be, you have to be very careful when you're changing the signs too. So it's easy for me, rather than doing all that, move the variable that's 6, 9 to the other side. So which means this is going to give me a 14 is greater than a negative n, because 5 minus 6 is going to give me a -1. So we don't usually write a negative. So here, that means there is already a 1. Now we need to get rid of this negative sign, which means simple terms, we could keep this to the number and then flip the sign. But in the proper mathematical way, we are going to divide the number with -1. So what happens is the sign flips as well, right? So the answer finally is going to be -14 is less than n. So easily we could have done that here. We could give the negative sign to the 14 and then flip the sign. So that becomes 14 is going to be less than n. -14 is going to be less than n. But this is the proper mathematical way to do this question. So to graph it, let's have it as n is greater than -14. Now definitely your number line should have all the numbers greater than -14. So I start with -14. So move on, -12, give some gaps, -13, -12, -10, -8, -6, -4, and all the other numbers, -2. So you could even use like more numbers, it's totally up to you. But it should show all the numbers greater than -14. So I start by drawing a circle on 14, -14. Now I'm not going to shade it because it doesn't say equal. And I go to the right to show all the numbers which are greater than -14. this is how we need to graph this solution. Moving on to question number 5. Now again, question number 5 is similar because we have a pair of parentheses here. So we need to solve the parentheses first. So this is going to be 5s minus 9 is greater than 2s minus 12. So the next part is going to be, we're going to arrange the terms again. So that means 5s minus 2s is less than negative 12 plus 9. By now, hopefully you can understand what I'm doing. I do not need to give the explanation every time, but negative 9 becomes positive when it moves to the other side, and 2s, which is positive, becomes negative when it moves to the other side of the inequality. So 3s, that's 5s minus 2s is less than, 2s is going to give us 3s is less than negative 3. Negative 12 plus 9 is going to give you a negative 3. Now here again, s is going to be less than negative 3 divided by 3. Now again, you might wonder, why did I not flip the sign? I do not flip the sign unless I'm dividing it with a negative number or multiplying it. Here I'm dividing it with a positive 3, so it's not needed. So the answer is going to be s is less than 1. Negative 1, because it's negative 3 divided by 3 is negative 1. Right, so let me graph this. So the answer for this is s is less than negative 1, which means I need to show all the numbers which are less than negative 1. So let me start this with a 0, then negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, and so on. So this becomes 5, 6. Now I am not writing because it looks all messed up here. So I'm just leaving one and alternating it. Negative 10 and negative 12. So to start graphing, I need to start from negative 1, draw a circle, don't shade it because it doesn't say equal, and it needs to show all the numbers which are less than negative 1, which means any number which this line is passing through can be a solution for the value of s. That was an easy one too. So let's move on to question number 6. Now here we have two parentheses, which means we need to be a bit careful as we are going to multiply the signs as well. So negative 3 multiplied by a 3x is going to give us a negative 9x, because negative 3 multiplied by a positive 3 is negative x, negative number. The negative 3 plus 5 is going to give us a negative 15 again. Then multiply greater or equal to, multiply each term inside the parenthesis. So that will give you a negative 10x and a positive 10. Negative 5 multiplied by negative 2. So you are multiplying two positive negative numbers, which will give you a positive number. Now the remaining things stay the same. Arrange the terms by keeping the like terms together and keeping the numbers together. And always the sign changes when the side changes. So this is going to give us an x, because negative 10 minus 9 is an x, greater or equal to 15. So this is how as easy it is, but once this is 25, not 15, because 10 plus 15 is 25. So the answer is going to be x is greater or equal to 25. Now for graphing, your number line needs to show all the numbers which are greater than 25. So let me make use of this. Starting from here, I say this is 0. So I'm alternating in saying this is a 5. It's not necessary, but okay, we have too much of space here. So I think I will start from 5. Then I say this is a 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and so on. But you can even start like the number line with a 25, 26, and say go on. So that's okay too. So not necessarily you need to do the same, giving the same gaps. It's totally up to you. Right, so to graph this, we start from 25 because we need to show all the numbers greater or equal to 25. So I shape the circle which is on 25, and then I move to the right side to show that this inequality solution can be all the numbers which are greater than 25, or it could be 25. Right, let's do these two questions. Now, if you have done anything wrong, that's perfectly fine. Just pause the video and write down the correct answer. And once you are finished watching the video, try to do it again without looking at the answer and check if you are getting the answer right. That's the perfect way to learn math. If there is any mistake, get the answer and keep practicing. Do it by yourself and then check on the answer. Now here there is nothing to do, rather we are going to arrange the like terms together. So 1.4z minus 2.6z is greater than negative 0.2, negative 2.2. So again, you have to be super careful here because we are going to be dealing with decimals. So 2.6 minus 1.4 is going to give you negative 1.2, because 2.6 minus 1.4 will give you 1.2. It's going to be negative 1 because negative 2.6 is greater. 2.6 is greater and it has a negative sign. So this is going to be greater. Then again, both of them are negative, so which means we're going to add both of them. So that's going to give us a negative 2.4. Yeah, I forgot the z. So z is going to be less than, now you could understand why I flipped the sign, because I'm going to divide it with negative 1.2. Again, when you're dividing decimals, you know what you have to do. You have to move the decimals away. So that will eventually leave with an answer of z is less than 2. How did I get a 2? You know, the question is like this: 2.4 divided by 1.2, leaving out the negatives. Okay, when you are dividing these numbers, leave out the negatives. So, but you know, anyhow, if you are dividing two negative numbers, means your answer is going to be a positive one, right? So you know that you cannot divide when the divisor has a decimal number, so you need to move it. So which means decimals too. So eventually that's going to leave you with 24 divided by 12, which is going to give you a 2. So that's how I got z is less than 2. So in the number line now, you need to show all the numbers which are less than 2. So you could start from any number you want to. It's 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and so on. So the number line goes on. All what you're going to do is you have to graph it. So starting from 2, I'm not going to shade it because it doesn't say equal to. So less means it goes to this side of the number line, left side. As you could see, I already gave you a hint. The arrow should be the same sign as the inequality sign. Right, moving to question number 8. The same rule here, move the variable to the other side. So that leaves you with a negative 1/4. First arrange it because you're dealing with fractions now. 1/2 p minus 7 over 8p. Now you know you cannot subtract this unless you have both the denominators the same. So to make both the denominators the same, I need to multiply this with a 4. Okay, so that is going to leave me with 4 over 8 minus 7 over 8p. Now, how much is 4 minus 7? That's going to give you a negative 3, right? So the answer is going to be negative 1 over 4 is less than or equal to negative 3 over 8p. Now, this question is going to be a bit longer because, again, we have to separate them. So here it's multiply, which means it's going to be divided. So again, negative 1 over 4 divided by negative 3 over 8. I need to flip the sign because I'm dividing with a negative number. So I need to flip the sign. Now I'm going to work on this. Now both of them have negatives, which means it's going to be a positive number when we divide it, right? So we are going to divide 1 over 4 with 3 over 8. Well, you know it well that you cannot divide. So I'm doing the next step here up. keep it, change it, and flip it. It's going to be greater or equal to P. So here we are going to get 1 8s are 8, 4 3s are 12, is less than or equal to P. So you can simplify, so do not leave it without simplifying. I am going to simplify this with a 4, which means this is going to give me 2 over 3 is greater or equal to P. This is the inequality, but to graph it, we make it easier by keeping the P in front. So when the P comes in front, the sign flips as well. So we are going to graph this one. P is less than or equal to 2 over 3. Now, you have to graph the number which is between 2 over, it's a between number. So let me say, if I take this point as 0, okay, and I say this is 1, negative 1, this is a negative 2, negative 3, and this is going to be 1, 2, 3. So this is 2 over 3, which means this is a number between 0 and 1. So between 0 and 1, this place, which is between 0 and 1, has been divided in 3 equal parts, and the second part, we are going to mark this. So this is the first part, second part, and third part. So 2 over 3 is going to be somewhere here. So it's more closer to 1 than 0. So we are going to draw, and I know this is a bit of a tricky question. It should not be in the middle, because if it was in the middle, that will be like a half. You're graphing a half. So it's got to be a bit more towards 1. So from this point, it's going to show all the numbers which are to the left, because it says lesser or equal, which means it could show any number like which is less than 2 over 3. So 0 is less than 2 over 3, negative 1 is less than 2 over 3, so it could be any number here. Only that's easy. Now let's quickly move on to this part where we do not have to finally graph the inequality, we're just going to solve it. It's an easy one. Here what you're going to do, just going to move it, right? So v minus v is going to be greater than negative 6, negative 1. So what is v minus v? You know that there's an invisible one always. So 1 minus 1 is going to give you a 0, right? So v minus v is going to give you a 0 is greater than negative 7. Now both the sides have numbers, which means we need to decide the statement is true or not. So is 0 greater than negative 7? Yes, this statement is true. So if this statement is true, we say all real numbers. This situation is only and only when both the sides have numbers. Because you know here v is not alone, it has a 1. So 1 minus 1 is going to give us a 0. This is not a plus sign, that's a 1, right? Okay, now here again, we are going to multiply each term. That's going to give us a 3x plus 12 is going to be less than or equal to 3x, which means again 12 is going to be less than or equal to 3x minus 3x. So again 3x minus 3x is going to give you 0. Now is 12 less than or equal to 0? Definitely not. This is a wrong inequality, which means when the inequality value is wrong, we say that has no solution. Okay, similarly, the same one here. First, we need to remove the parenthesis. So that's going to leave us with negative 16, positive 6x is greater or equal to 6x plus 2. Now, negative, okay, let me keep the 6x this side. So 6x minus 6x is greater than or equal to 12 plus 16. 6x minus 6x is going to give you a 0 is greater than or equal to 18. Is the statement true? Is 0 greater than or equal to negative or equal to 18? Definitely not. It's a wrong inequality. Okay, I do not know why I wrote it here. Now, the answer for this is going to be no solution. Okay, so if the inequality statement is wrong, we say it's no solution. If it is right, and if it has two numbers on both sides, either side of the inequality, then we say it is all real numbers. Now, let's go to problem solving. You have to definitely read the question carefully and underline the important parts. Ian wants to promote his band on the internet. Site A offers, so the question starts basically from here. Site A offers website hosting for $4.95 per month. So for 1 month, it's $4.95 with a $49.95 startup fee. So with means you know that it's going to be plus. So first, let's write down the inequality equation for site A, or rather the expression. So they said 4.95 per month, but we do not know how many months. So let's name this month as M or X. It's totally up to you. So let's say it's 4.95 per month means M plus 49.95. This was site A. Site B offers website hosting for 9.95 per month with no startup fee. So there is no startup fee. So for site B, it's going to be only 9.95 per month. No startup fee, so there is nothing to plus. For how many months would Ian need to keep the website for site B to be less expensive? So here you can guess what kind of inequality sign is going to be there. So it needs to be less inexpensive than site A. So once you have write down these two expressions, it's easy for us to write the inequality now. So which means you could write 9.95 M is less than 4.95 M plus 49.95. Basically, we are just rewriting this thing. Site B should be less expensive than site A. So it should be less than site A. This is what we have to write. So let's start solving. I think you could solve this easily now. You have solved so many different kinds of inequalities. So 9.95 M minus 4.95 M is going to be less than 49.95, which means this is going to be 5M is less than 49.95. So M is going to be less than 49.95 divided by 5, which is going to give you M is less than 4 nines are 45, then again 4 nines are 45. It's going to be 9.999. It keeps like 9.99, right? So which means the question is for how many months would Ian need to keep? So the months should be less than 9.99. So he could keep it for any number which is less than 9 months. So it could be, we need to give the explanation. So Ian could keep it for 0 because there is nothing less than 0 months, right? For 0 to 9 months. He could keep the site B less for 0 to 9 months than site A. So this is what is important to identify the answer. Right, let's move on to the next question. For what values of x is the area of the rectangle greater than the perimeter? Now definitely you need to remember the perimeter of a rectangle, the formula, and the area of the rectangle formula. So the perimeter is 2L plus 2W and the area is LW. The length is given to be x plus 2 and the width is going to given to be x plus width is given to be 7. So they said for what values of x is the area greater than the perimeter. So we need to write the inequality in this form. Okay, so first let's write the expression for the area. So area is length multiplied by the width, that means x plus 2 multiplied by 7. Right? And the perimeter expression is going to be 2 multiplied by x plus 2 plus 2 multiplied by 7. So let's write the this is going to be okay. So once we have written the expressions for area and theta, first let's simplify this part so that it will be easy for us to find out, right? So you know what you need to do. You need to multiply each term like that. So which means it's going to be 7x plus 14 for this. I'm just making it more easy rather than confusing you by writing a whole big inequality. I'm just making it easy, simplifying it. So this is going to give us 2x plus 4. So 2x plus 4. And this is going to give us a plus 14. So basically, we are going to work with these to write the inequality. Okay, so here's this thing. Now let's write the inequality. So the area is 7x plus 14 is going to be greater than 2x plus 4 plus 14. Now we need to simplify this side because we have two numbers, right? So it's easy, the more we reduce the number of terms, it's easy for us to solve. So this is going to be plus 18. 4 plus 4 is going to give us 18. Now you can do the remaining part. 7x minus 2x is going to be greater than 18 minus 14, which means 5x is going to be greater than 4 also, which means this means x is greater than 4 over 5. So this is what it is. Now, if you want, you could change this to a decimal because they're asking for what values of x is the area. So we need to find the value of x. You could perfectly leave it like this. So x, the value of x could be greater than 4 over 5. It could be 5 over 5, which means it's a 1, right? Or it could be 9 over 5, which means 1. You could change that into a mixed number as well. So it could be any value which is greater than 4 over 5. But if you would perfectly define this answer, you could need to change this to a decimal, which means it's 0.8 if you change this. So which means x could be 0.9, x could, the values of x can be 1, it can be 1.5, it could be any. But if you even with the answer like that, it's perfectly fine as well. So there we will just finish off by saying the x value could be any value greater than 4 over 5 or 0.8. So hopefully you've got these answers all right. Do leave a comment saying that your answers are all right, or at least you could like the video so that I can know how many of you have got the answers right. It doesn't cost anything to like the video, right? So until we meet again in another video, similar lesson video, keep practicing and keep learning.